Update. My wife stole our daughter's college money to fund her shopping addiction and wants me to take the blame. I want to start this by thanking everyone who replied to me in the original post. You all showed me a tough love, and I appreciate that. I even appreciate those who are calling me a doormat, because like I said in the previous post, it woke me up. I won't be staying with Andrea. She's lied and manipulated me and Cassie for far too long for me to stay with her. The fact that she stole from me, Cassie and Cassie's grandparents, makes this as close to unforgivable as it gets. The most wrong part here is Cassie. She has an amazing future ahead of her, and I refuse to let her future go to waste because my wife made such selfish choices. Also, I'd like to take the time to answer some common questions, some of which I answered in the original post, but I'll post again here so everyone can see it. 1. Over half the money in the account came from Cassie's grandparents, aka Andrea's parents, Cassie's bio dad's parents, and my parents, whom she also calls grandparents. This money came in the beginning, which is why I knew how much was supposed to be there. 2. I never handled the account. Although I claim Cassie as my daughter, she's only my stepdaughter officially. As such, her mother handles all financial matters related to her. I simply gave her money to put in the account, and she showed me probably doctored statements. My belief is that she pocketed the cash whenever I gave her money. 3. I did notice all the stuff she was buying, but she claimed that they were either on sale or because she got a work bonus. She makes a very good living, and I thought was responsible with money, so I said alright. I did ask her why she needed so many Christian Louboutin shoes. She shrugged it off, and although people can't wrap their heads around it, it's very easy to spend $170,000. 4. A large chunk of the money went to buy a Mercedes, which I thought was a lease. She had a 7-year-old Lexus that, according to her, her friends were laughing at. Keeping up appearances for her wealthy friends is very important to her. 5. Cassie and Andrea did not get along for a variety of reasons. Allegedly, Cassie takes a lot after her deceased father, and Andrea can't relate to her at all, or maybe doesn't try hard enough. Cassie much prefers me to talk to. We have parent/child boundaries, but Cassie considers me one of her best friends. Her words, not mine. 6. I realized taking the fall was her manipulating me. Plus, it would have opened me to a crap ton of consequences that I don't need to deal with. Plus, honesty is always the best policy. 7. I wasn't thinking properly in my last post and was afraid to be alone and single. I guess I have some issues being alone that I need to address. Plus, I really do love Andrea. We connect in a very deep way, but I'm still divorcing her. Oddly enough, a comment that senior homes have chlamydia outbreaks had me laughing and made me realize that I could date again at this age. Plus, you guys gave me some very nice compliments, so thank you for those. After my final updates on the original post, I talked to Andrea deep into the night. She went back and forth with me on admitting to Cassie what she did. She said that she, or even both of us, could get loans and take care of the money then. I said she had a problem and she needed to make amends, which was a talking point from here. When I threatened her with divorce, she agreed to tell her, so long as I don't divorce her. I guess she's afraid of losing everything. That afternoon, we sat Cassie down and told her the facts. She thought we were just kidding at first, but when she realized we weren't kidding, she got extremely upset. I'll spare you the details, but she and Andrea got into an extremely loud and vicious shouting match. Cassie called her some truly awful names, and Andrea, while she didn't curse back at her, tried to defend herself, but started getting angry at the names she was being called. They were so loud the neighbors called the police. I had to awkwardly explain the situation to them while hoping they didn't think I was some kind of wife beater. Cassie told Andrea that she never wanted to speak to her again, and that she never wanted a dime of her money and stormed off. I asked Andrea at this point to stay with her sister indefinitely while we give Cassie and me some space. She didn't want to go. She fought me to stay, but I told her me and Cassie needed time apart from her. So she packed her stuff and went to her sister's house. As for Cassie, she went to her room and locked the door. She let me in after I told her that her mother had left. She cried in my arms and expressed that her future was now ruined. I told her it wasn't, that I would cover her college from my retirement and that I would make it right. She doesn't exactly know what a 401k is yet, but she told me that she doesn't want me to work until I'm 90 like the people at Walmart just because of her. I just told her she's worth it and that you do stupid things for the people you love. She said that she would start looking for scholarships and maybe other schools where she could get a full ride, since she has excellent grades and extracurriculars. I then admitted Andrea wanted me to take the fall for her, and that I had considered it, but I came to my senses. She got upset with me and told me that would have been the stupidest thing I could have done. She said she wouldn't have believed I did it anyway, and it only would have made her more upset at her mother. She told me that she doesn't blame me, and that she's not mad at me for the money being gone, but she's mad that I'd want to cover for her mother. I apologized for that. We talked and cuddled for a while longer before calling it a night. The next morning, I get a call from Andrea's parents asking if the story was true. Cassie had told them the story, and they were calling to confirm. I had voice recordings and bank statement to prove it. They were livid, but begged me to not leave Andrea for this, and to try and help her through her addiction. I told them I wasn't sure about that yet, and hung up. A while later, my parents called and asked me about it, which I confirmed. They were probably more mad than Cassie was. All things considered, they're even threatening to press charges. I told them to calm down and that I would handle it. Cassie's doing okay. She's still a little shell-shocked, but she seems to be taking it as well as one could hope for. I made her pancakes this morning, and that seemed to brighten her mood a bit. I asked her if she wants to do therapy. She said she'll think about it. I will be doing therapy for myself. Andrea has been calling to talk, but I'm just letting it ring, so she's leaving voicemail. She's offering anything to make it right. Money, intimacy, favors, you name it. But it's not going to work. I feel horrible for Cassie, and especially so close to Christmas. I think I'm going to get her Billie Eilish ticket since that's her god. It won't make up for it at all, but it could go a long way to help her feeling better. So that's it for now. I guess I'll update if anything further happens, but I think this is pretty much it. Thanks all, you've been a tremendous help. I forgot to add, I watched my credit like a hawk, so there was nothing suspicious there. But it's going to be locked. I'll be going to my accountant next week to have Andrea removed from everything meaningful. Life insurance, will, bank accounts, etc. And I'll be adding Cassie instead. I've started changing passwords and the like so Andrea doesn't have access. I'm stringing Andrea along with non-divorce until my accounts are secure. Also, from what I can tell, Cassie's credit is okay, but I'll be doing a deep scan and locking that as well. Now for the comments. Hold on. Do not cash in your retirement. You have other options to get probably most of the money back. Sell the Mercedes. Sell those Christian Louboutin shoes and all of this other designer stuff she has. Even Cassie has been suggesting other ways. She can probably get scholarship money. I think you're doing the right thing. Sell these possessions and do everything you can to not cash out your retirement. You have other options. She needs to sell everything to make partial things right. Even if she ends up driving around a Honda car or takes public transportation. Sorry, forgot to put it in the post. She doesn't want to sell her stuff and is just offering to get a loan. I'm proud of you, Opie, for being truthful to your daughter and recognizing how manipulative your wife has been. However, I'm disappointed to see you're still letting your wife walk all over you when it comes to taking accountability for her actions. According to your comments, you're willing to sacrifice your retirement plans because your wife doesn't want to sell the things she bought with the money that wasn't hers. Why does she get a choice here? She acknowledges screwing up, but doesn't want to actually make things right by her daughter? You need to call her and let her know that if she doesn't actually make a plan to pay back the money she owes, you and your parents will sue her. You need to make better choices for yourself and for your daughter. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't view it as her walking all over me. She's lost her marriage, her daughter, her family's furious with her, and her friends will likely drop her when they hear what she's done and realize she's not as wealthy as she appears to be. To me, that seems like real consequences. I'm a big fan of The Twilight Zone, and this seems like one of those endings where the person gets what they want, but doesn't realize what they had to give up to get it. She can have her possessions, it just cost her everything to get it. To quote Jake the Snake Roberts, she is a victim of her own greed, wallowing in the muck of her own avarice. Plus, she'll likely end up getting sued by my parents anyway. And if Cassie decides she wants her money, then I'll support her fully in getting it. My retirement will be fine. Let's just say my portfolio is very diverse and healthy. Plus, I have an inheritance. I'm not bragging, just stating facts. Plus, there is a chance Cassie gets a scholarship or assistance. Last story. My dad secretly got married on my anniversary and I'm pretty sure I made him cry. My dad, 52 male, got married on my 31 female, 4th year anniversary. That's not the part that I'm upset about. It's mildly irritating given there are 363 days of the year that aren't his children's wedding anniversaries. But the day itself isn't all that special to me. I do think it's a little weird to share an anniversary with my dad, but I have no emotional attachment to the day itself. I'm very close to my dad. Other than my sister, he's my best friend, or so I thought. He's been divorced from my mother for about 25 years and has sworn he would never get married again because everything about the divorce in our childhood was traumatic for all of us. My dad's been dating Martha for about 5 years, and I don't think anyone in our family actually likes her. We tolerate her for my dad's sake, but she is selfish, spoiled, and self-centered. I could give you dozens of times when she has been a pretty terrible person, pushing children off floating devices at the lake because she wanted to use it, promising young children to take them out to a special event or trip without consulting the parents, and then last minute deciding she didn't want to, breaking those kids' hearts, manipulating my dad with her mental health and alcohol recovery to change his vacation plans of visiting me. I'm the only child who lives in a different state, to visit her family on the opposite side of the country, sending money to her daughter Denise when Martha didn't have a job. But once Martha got a job and my dad put his foot down and told her she can send her own money to Denise, she stopped sending any because she couldn't possibly send her own money. These are just a few. I could go on for hours about the things she's done. Among many instances of pure selfishness, no one can have a conversation with her for more than 5 minutes without her turning the conversation to herself and her daughter. Martha has 2 kids, but she rarely talks about her son. Denise is definitely the apple of her eye, and she is a carbon copy of Martha, with the exact same personality and entitlement. The only people who matter to Martha are Martha and Denise. One example of this was our trip to visit this summer. On our last day of our trip home, we wanted to have a dinner with my family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandma, the works. But the only people who I was really adamant to be there were my dad, my siblings, and my grandmother. Trying to coordinate was difficult, but we managed to nail down a time right after my uncle got off work at 5 p.m. and before my sister went in for the night shift at 7 p.m. Martha threw a fit because Denise wouldn't be off work until 6 and wouldn't be back in town until 6:30, so she wouldn't be able to make it with much time to join. I made it clear to my dad, in no uncertain terms, that I didn't care if Denise made it, and that Martha didn't have to come either if she had an issue with me wanting to work around my sister's schedule more than anything else. The way I feel about their relationship is how I imagine my dad felt about every guy I dated in high school in my early 20s. She's not good enough for my dad, but he's an adult and can make his own decisions. I love my dad more than I dislike Martha, so I tolerate her in as small of doses as I possibly can. For whatever reason, she makes my dad happy, and that's the part that really matters. Now on to the main deal. They got married, despite literal decades of my dad swearing he never would again. The part that I'm upset about is that my siblings and I were given no heads up until Martha posted it on Facebook. We didn't get a phone call or even a message that they had taken the step, and I was hurt. My sister was angry, but I'm just hurt. My dad is such an important part of my life that when I got married, I asked him to sign my marriage license as my witness. He and my husband's mother were the only people there. My sister did the same thing a few months later when she got married. No one else but her husband's dad and my dad. I wanted my dad to be a part of one of the most important moments of my life, but I feel like I wasn't important enough to be a part of his. But my dad being happy is really all that mattered, so I called him and congratulated him on getting married. I told him I was a little hurt I had to find out on Facebook of all places, but that I was happy he found someone that made him happy. He told us no one knew, except for Denise who signed the marriage license and my grandmother. This is where I made him cry, when I learned that Martha's daughter of all people not only knew about it before it was posted on Facebook, but also that she was involved. I lost it. I'd like to blame pregnancy hormones, but I can't because I'm sure I would have lost it even if I wasn't pregnant. I told him that having to have a witness isn't an excuse he can use, since they live in a state that doesn't require witnesses to a marriage license at all, and that this is exactly the reason I don't like Martha, because only her and her daughter matter, and to hell with anyone else's feelings. I told him that if the roles had been reversed, if I had gotten married, and he had found out via Facebook, he would have been hurt and felt excluded as well. We were video chatting and he was silent and I could see he was crying. I took a breath. I apologized and told him this wasn't what I called for, that I really just wanted to tell him I was happy for him, and that I'm sorry went off, but the damage was done. He wouldn't look at the phone. He just said it's okay, and then I said I had to go. I told him I loved him and got off the phone. I feel like a real a-hole. My husband says I'm an a-hole and have no reason to be upset. But that doesn't change the fact that I am, and I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do about it. Now for the comments. To me, it sounds like your dad just always caves to avoid her wrath. A lot of people do that with narcissists, because it's easier to just go along with it than object. I doubt he was deliberately excluding you, but that's kind of the point. He isn't thinking about anything or anyone else other than keeping her from being mad at him. That's what I feel he does too. And he takes the blame for her a lot. Claims that he's the reason for certain actions when we very much know it was her. You shouldn't feel like an a-hole for sharing your feelings. Your father should know how this exclusion hurt you and your sister. Why is Denise more important than you and sister? How can he not see it's hurtful, mean, and shows where you stand in your relationship with him? Do not let him off the hook about how this behavior hurts. Martha is going to make a point to exclude you both every chance she gets, and it's obvious he doesn't give a damn. As a parent, I couldn't imagine letting my partner cut my children out of my life events in life. I'm so sorry, but you're going to have a sit down with him to tell him what you're willing to put up with. People's actions toward you mean everything, especially when it's a parent, and his actions are showing you both where you stand in his life. Good luck, and remember your feelings are valid. Thank you. I'm the same as you. I can't imagine excluding my kids from such an important moment. And this is such a stark contrast to how he has been the rest of our lives. Up until the last few years, he included us in everything, big or small. He fought so hard to stay in our lives, despite our mother trying to push him out every way she could, short of actual kidnapping. It's a huge change in him, and it hurts. I don't know if it's Martha, or just because we're getting older and have our own families, but it sucks. Your point was valid. If you got married and he learned about it on Facebook, he would be upset. You're his daughter, and it seems he is prioritizing Martha and giving in to her constantly. I'm sure that's hard to witness him getting taken advantage of over and over. I think you need to talk to him about your feelings. It is hard to watch for sure. I wish I had said something before now. I'm sure I'll talk to him someday about it, but I think I'm just going to take a step back for a little bit and go low contact.